semifinals of the U.S. Open before losing to Billie Jean King in 1971 and becoming America's girl next door. She was 16 at the time, and for the next 15 years, she was a champion. She won all the majors multiple times, and she won 18 of them. She was dainty looking on the court, but she'd rip your heart out of your chest and hold it in her hand. You cannot discuss the greatest women's tennis players of all time without mentioning Christine Marie Evert. And like every sports writer who ever spent any time with her, both Wilbon and I fell in love with her.
Amen to that, Tony. And I got to sit in the booth with her and Chris Fowler last year, and you didn't get to do that, so I'm one up on you. And I will just say, as I was sitting there trying to talk about whatever match was going on, I'm sitting next to Chris Evert. You know, you don't get over that if you're of a certain age. And her rivalry with Martina Navratilova, to me, is the greatest rivalry in tennis, period.
Tremendous. Happy anniversary, Nick Saban. On this day 14 years ago, after repeatedly denying rumors that he was leaving the Miami Dolphins and taking a job at Alabama, Saban told the media at a routine Dolphins press conference, quote, "Well, I guess I have to say it. I won't be the coach at Alabama," unquote. 2 weeks later, he was officially introduced as the coach at Alabama, ushering in one of the greatest runs in college football history. Saban has won 5 national championships there and can win a 6th this year. I like to end these things with a personal anecdote, often about a photo or a signed ball. In this case, I will just say, Saban lied to my face at a Monday night production meeting when I asked him if he could categorically deny he was going to Alabama.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. Oh, Saban told me this. I just remember picking up the phone 2 days later going, whenever later it was, saying, Tony, what happened to your boy? He's gone. I mean, look, he's one of the great coaches in any sport of all time.
Yes.
But I don't believe if he says it's Monday, I'm going to check the calendar. I don't have to believe anything he says, but I can respect the hell out of his teams.
Happy trails to the playoffs for New England. By virtue of losing to the Dolphins yesterday, the Patriots were eliminated from the playoffs for the first time since 2008, the year Tom Brady tore his ACL in the first game. The Patriots' string of 11 straight years in the playoffs was the longest in NFL history. The Patriots will finish 3rd in the AFC East behind Buffalo and Miami, their worst division finish in 20 seasons. Bill Belichick said, quote, "We have to coach better, we have to play better, we have to tackle better," unquote. Cam Newton threw for 209 yards and no touchdowns yesterday. Meanwhile, Tom Brady threw for 320 yards and 2 touchdowns in the second half alone, making up a 17-0 deficit, beating Atlanta Dogs 31-27.
You were all excited about this yesterday. Brady came back. Brady came back. Brady's playing against the chokingest team in sports this season, and maybe the Falcons can get past this, Tony, but my goodness, every week it seems they have a lead and choke like dogs. So don't give me what Brady and Tampa did. They should never have been trailing this dog team by that much in the first place.
320 yards in the second half is a real big deal.
It is.
Real big deal.
Against Atlanta.
But if you think this was a bad choke, the Super Bowl is the worst choke of all time.
It was.
It's the worst choke of all
time.
time.
Bad.
I hope they're happy dancing on the sidelines with the owner. Let's go to the big finish.
Let's do it.
The NBA rescinded a second-round pick from the Bucks for tampering with Bogdan Bogdanovic. Is that justice?
Well, Tony, it could have been worse, and they don't get Bogdanovic and they don't get the pick. So, that's probably enough. The NHL will return January 13 with a 56-game schedule and an all-Canadian division. You excited for that?
I'm happy. It's cold out. Hockey should be played, but I don't know if the all-Canadian division is going to be allowed to play in Canada. I'm not sure of that yet. Somebody tell me. The Carolina Panthers fired general manager Marty Herney. We know him a long time. Your thoughts?
I mean, wouldn't it seem just if Marty Herney winds up running or partially running the Washington football franchise? He covered them as a beat writer, sat shoulder to shoulder with ink-stained wretches like you and me for a couple of decades. Yep. The Seahawks beat the Washington football team. Were you impressed?
I was impressed by the defense of the Washington football team. I was.
They got close.
Last one, Monday Night Football, Steelers and Bengals. 3rd loss in a row for Pittsburgh?
No. I mean, Pittsburgh would have to absolutely crater for the Steelers to lose that game, and they're Jacksonville the overall #1 pick, at least for now. So I would think no, but this is your team.
All right, let me make a distinction. I understand why coaches are happy when they win.
And players.
I understand why players are happy when they win. Nobody wants to be 0-16. The Jets should have beaten the Raiders a couple of years ago. But if the question is about fans, couple of weeks, did I say years? I meant weeks. But if the question is about fans, they should be miserable, abject misery. Because, and it's odd to hear you say what you say, because 2 years ago, you said that Trevor Lawrence was the greatest quarterback you'd ever seen in college.
At that point, yeah.
I mean, did you watch him against Notre Dame?
It was great.
He looks like a generational quarterback.
He does.
And where would the league have a generational quarterback? Where would they prefer? In Jacksonville, Florida, or in New York City? Obviously, New York City. Here's the problem that I've got with this. Your team made Justin Fields look ordinary. So when people say, what's the difference, 1-2? Well, what if 2 is Ryan Leaf and 1 is Peyton Manning? Then there's a big difference here.
There could be.
So I think the Jets are objectively, they stink. And I think that the Jets should be given the first pick. Change the rule like the Big Ten would. Just change the rule.
That's a New York way. That's a New York City way. Jump to the front of the line.
Did 11-year-old Charlie Woods live up to your expectations?
I didn't have any expectations. I turned on like a lot of people turned on. And I said, well, let me see what this kid's got, because the hype is unreal. And, Tony, that shot, I believe, right there, a 5-wood from like 180 yards to the front of the green, bending it around some trees. Are you serious? 11 years old, and the poise with which he putted, and the speed of this putt, by the way. Like, I mean, your old man can't say, I guess he could say, make it a 60% putt, make it 50. It doesn't matter what his old man says. It's frightening how composed, how much poise, how much game. Like, I'm in awe.
If the question is, did he live up to my expectations? Like you, I had no expectations. He's 11.
Yeah.
He's 11. He looks like Tiger. He swings like Tiger. He stands like Tiger. He twirls the club like Tiger. You hope and pray that the pressure down the road doesn't cave in on him. That's all. But he had a natural eagle. So I will just say this to you. He had a natural eagle. He putted. We saw that putt. When's the last time you had an eagle where you didn't chip in? Okay, when was the last time you got there in 2
like 12
and you
years
putted
ago.
in from 4 feet? Okay, I mean, it was remarkable to see.
It is.
I hope that Tiger is amazingly proud of this. Because I hope the kid loves playing with his dad.
He's got to be. By the way, you got a son who's a player, an accomplished player.
Yeah, he's a good player.
What did Michael Kornheiser have to say about this?
He loved it. He thought the kid was really, he loved it. He watched that whole tournament. He loved every bit of it. Wow. He really did.
That's a wow.
And he's a good player. He's about 30 shots better than his old man, and always was. Enough email. Let's take one last break, but still to come. The Patriots won't see the postseason for the first time in 12 years.
And could the Steelers lose their 3rd in a row tonight? No. I like spoiling. I like killing the tease. Like killing those. Like spoiling it.
Again, it stands to reason that even though the Browns have won 10 games already this season, and Chris, there's an extra playoff spot available in the AFC and the NFC this year. We got 7 teams making it. You would think, hey, a team gets to 10 wins when more teams than ever are making the NFL playoffs. Yep. That would be enough, but it is still not enough for the Browns. They can clinch a playoff berth next week with the win at the suddenly resurgent, on fire New York Jets, tongue planted firmly in cheek, and then they need losses by Baltimore, the Colts, or the Dolphins to get in, so they need a little bit of help from the opposition of those 3 teams. Biggest thing here is Baker is really, I mean, look, even in the Monday night loss, I thought he was great. He was great yesterday. You mentioned how efficient he was. Why are you believing in him? What's different about it?
Well, I think the timing of the passing game is there now. You know, with Baker Mayfield, some of the things that they were doing in the first half of the season, it just looked a little bit off. But now it feels like it's in sync. And I guess that should be a reasonable expectation that this is the time that they start clicking, given the season that we've had in the offseason. No OTAs, no mini camps, modified training camp schedule. So, you're trying to figure things out on the fly. And I think now is that time where they're hitting that sweet spot. and it's perfect for them because this is when you want to be playing your best football. You want to be going into the playoffs with a lot of momentum, and you can certainly say that about the Cleveland Browns and the way they're playing right now.
So you look at Stefanski last year at this time working with the Minnesota Vikings. You extract him from the Vikings, you put him on the Browns, and you look what's happened to the Vikings after that 1-5 start. They got out to a nice building block after that. Now they've lost a couple in a row. Their offense seems to be scuffling a little bit. Meanwhile, he goes to Cleveland. He's been the antidote. He's been the reason for success. Where does he fall to you in the Coach of the Year discussion?
I think he's in the top 3 or 4 candidates for Coach of the Year. I would put Sean McDermott there. I would still keep Mike Tomlin up there, even though some of the shine on the Pittsburgh Steelers is worn off with the 2 consecutive losses. Keeping in mind they played 3 games in 12 days, and their season has been kind of shuffled due to COVID concerns. So I just think that the fact that he's been able to keep that group together, even with the injuries, and Big Ben coming back from the injury that he had with the elbow, I just feel good about the job that Mike Tomlin has done. Sean McDermott's in that conversation as well. So I just think that Stefanski and what he's done and having the potential to get the Cleveland Browns back into the postseason for the first time in 2002 and seemingly stabilizing the organization, you have to give him credit for that.
There's no doubt about it. Also, we mentioned Odell was kind of there in spirit. He certainly wasn't there last night. As I mentioned during the touchdown that Landry had, he stood up, popped the 1, popped the 3. Obviously, Odell had so many great moments in that end zone. In the first quarter of the game, there was almost a one-handed catch right where Odell made his famously
right in
a
that
few
same
years
end
ago,
zone.
right?
Yep.
There's some karma, something going on there last night for the Giants and the Browns. But we've had this discussion all season long, and it seems ridiculous when you say it on its face, but with regards to a little bit less pressure, a little bit regards to Baker having a little bit more say and latitude in the offense, do you think the extraction of Odell, not taking anything away from his talent, but just that he's always going to want the ball and there's always pressure to go that way, has having no Odell for this stretch, not counting his talent, for this stretch, helped Baker maybe ease some of the pressure off him?
Well, I think it's put more focus on Baker in terms of him understanding the offense and where he needs to go with the football, not trying to do too much, but playing within the structure of what Kevin Stefanski is trying to provide. And when you do that, when you play within yourself as a player and you trust the pieces around you, you're going to have success in this league. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing, leaning on the running game when it calls for it, but then being opportunistic with shots and chunk plays downfield. I think that's the most important thing. Baker Mayfield being able to take advantage of the play action as Kevin Stefanski's dialing it up. Coming into yesterday's game, Baker Mayfield was top 5 in yards off of play action. He was second in terms of quarterback rating off of play action. So I have 4th in terms of yards per attempt. So I think that Baker Mayfield has a good feel for